Alex had never imagined that his journey to the distant planet of Cyrano's would lead him to an encounter like this. As a skilled engineer, he had been sent by the Galactic Union to negotiate a trade agreement with the Siren government. The air was filled with the buzz of busy citizens, their colorful attire reflecting the lively nature of the planet. Stalls lined the grand market, showcasing exotic goods from all corners of the galaxy. Alex had spent the day conducting business, signing contracts, and meeting with officials. Little did he know, his real adventure was about to begin. It was just after sunset when he first noticed her. She stood out among the crowd, her presence undeniable. Elysia, a woman of exquisite beauty, had approached Alex as he was walking back to his temporary quarters. Her shimmering skin, a soft lavender hue, contrasted sharply with the vibrant reds and oranges of the market around her. Her eyes, a deep shade of emerald green, held a sense of both mystery and curiosity. Alex, always polite but rarely distracted by appearances, couldn't help but notice her unique elegance. Elysia's voice broke the silence. "Human," she said, her tone calm but firm. "You are the one they call Alex, are you not?" Alex nodded, surprised that she knew his name. "Yes, I'm Alex. How can I help you?" Elysia took a step closer, her eyes studying him closely. "I've heard much about you. I've come for a matter of great importance." She paused, her gaze locking onto his. "I wish to marry you." Alex blinked, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "Excuse me?" he asked, his voice tinged with confusion. "You want to marry me?" "Yes," Elysia replied, her expression unwavering. "It is customary in my culture for certain unions to be formed between individuals from different worlds, and I have chosen you." Alex took a step back, trying to process what she was saying. "But I don't even know you. I'm here on a diplomatic mission. This isn't." Before he could finish his sentence, Elysia raised a hand to stop him. "I understand your confusion. However, I must tell you that this is no ordinary request. In my culture, marriage is not limited to a single partner. It is a union that can involve multiple individuals from my family, and you are the one chosen to be part of this bond." The words hung in the air, and Alex felt his mind racing. "Wait," he said, his voice rising slightly. "You're saying that you want me to marry you and—" He hesitated, unsure if he had heard her right. "Marry your family too?" Elysia nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving his. "Yes. My sisters, like myself, wish to form a union with you. It is a tradition among my people that the chosen mate does not marry just one, but several partners from our family." Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had heard of unusual customs in distant parts of the galaxy, but this was beyond anything he had expected. He opened his mouth to protest, but before he could speak, Elysia continued. "Please, hear me out. This tradition is not one of force. It is about unity, about the joining of souls who can bring balance and strength to our family. You would not be alone in this. You would be a part of something far greater than any individual bond, the strength of many, united as one." Alex took a moment to absorb her words, trying to make sense of the strange, yet oddly compelling, proposal. He had spent years traveling across the stars, meeting all kinds of beings, but never had he encountered something so foreign to his own understanding of relationships. The thought of marrying not just one person, but a whole family was daunting. "And what about love?" Alex asked, his voice quieter now, filled with uncertainty. Elysia's expression softened, and she placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle but firm. "Love, as you know it, is not the same for us. We'd value connection, trust, and mutual respect above all. It is not about possessiveness, but about building something stronger together. You may not understand now, but in time, you will." Alex stood there, speechless. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. He had always believed that relationships were simple, two people bound by love and commitment. But here, on Cyrano's, everything was different. The concept of marriage, the idea of multiple partners, seemed foreign, even wrong to him in some ways. And yet there was something in Alicia's eyes, a sincerity, a calmness, that made him hesitate. She wasn't asking for a simple favor. She was offering him a place in her world, in her family. "But I'm human," Alex said, finally breaking the silence. "I don't know if I can just—" "You don't have to decide now," Alicia interrupted gently. "But know this, the choice to join us is yours alone. No one will force you. But we, my family and I, believe you have something special to offer us." Alex looked into her eyes, unsure of what to say. The proposal was unlike anything he had ever encountered, and yet there was a strange sense of peace in the thought of joining their culture, of being a part of something larger than himself. He didn't know if he was ready for what Alicia was offering, but he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward her, toward this family. "I'll think about it," Alex said finally, his voice steady. Alicia smiled, a soft, understanding smile that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. "Take your time, but know that we will be here when you are ready." As Alicia turned to leave, Alex watched her go, his heart racing with uncertainty and curiosity. What had he just gotten himself into? The days that followed Alex's unexpected proposal from Alicia were filled with confusion, wonder, and a growing sense of curiosity. He had been invited to her family's home, a place far different from anything he had ever seen. The city of Cyrano, where Alicia's family lived, was unlike any other he had visited. The streets were wide and clean, with towering buildings made from shimmering materials that seemed to change color with the passing light. The air was filled with the sounds of alien music, a mixture of soft, melodic tones and deep, resonating beats. Alicia had offered Alex a chance to stay in her family's home, a large, beautiful structure nestled in a valley surrounded by tall, metallic trees that seemed to hum with energy. Alex wasn't sure what to expect. He had heard of alien customs before, but this felt like stepping into a completely different world. The idea of marrying not just one woman, but an entire family, was something his mind still struggled to grasp. When Alex arrived at the family's home, he was greeted by Alicia's sisters, each one more stunning than the last. The first to introduce herself was Safira, the eldest sister. She was tall, with long silver hair and a confident, almost intimidating presence. Her eyes were sharp, observing Alex with a mix of curiosity and caution. She gave him a small nod, as if evaluating him, before speaking. "So you're the human who has caught Alicia's attention," Safira said, her voice low and commanding. "I must admit, I'm curious. What makes you worthy of being chosen by our sister?" Alex felt a bit of pressure under Safira's gaze, but managed to remain calm. I don't really know. I didn't expect any of this to happen. But I'm here, and I'm trying to understand." Safira gave a small, almost approving smile. "Good. At least you're honest. That's a start." The next sister Alex met was Lyra, who was much younger and had a more playful energy about her. She had bright green eyes and golden hair that seemed to sparkle in the sunlight. Lyra immediately walked up to Alex with a warm smile, offering her hand for a handshake. "It's so nice to finally meet you," Lyra exclaimed, her tone bright and enthusiastic. "Alicia talks about you all the time. We're all really curious to see how this is going to work." Alex shook her hand, feeling the tension ease a little. "I'm still figuring that out myself," he admitted, offering a sheepish smile. Lyra laughed lightly. "Well, we'll help you figure it out. No pressure," she added with a wink. The final sister Alex was introduced to was Vihora, the quietest of them all. She had pale blue skin, much like Alicia's, and her hair was a soft shade of lavender. Vihora's eyes were calm, almost serene, and when she spoke, it was with a gentle, soothing voice. "You don't have to be nervous," Vihora said softly. "We're not here to overwhelm you. Alicia has chosen you, and that's enough for us to give you a chance." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of relief. It seemed that the sisters, despite their different personalities, shared a common understanding. They were all open to getting to know him, even if they didn't fully understand the situation themselves. The family's home was an open, airy space, with large windows that looked out onto the vast landscape of Cyrannus. The furniture was sleek and minimalistic, but there was a warmth to the space, a sense of comfort and familiarity that made Alex feel at ease. He was shown to a small guest room, where he could rest and think about everything that had happened. As the evening approached, Alicia invited him to join them for dinner. The table was set with a variety of foods that Alex had never seen before. The dishes were colorful and smelled amazing, each one more exotic than the last. Alex sat down with Alicia and her sisters, feeling both nervous and honored to be part of their family's gathering. Over dinner, they talked. The sisters asked Alex about his life on Earth, about his work as an engineer, and about his experiences traveling across the galaxy. In return, they shared stories about our homeworld, their customs, and the traditions that shaped their lives. Despite the strangeness of the situation, Alex found himself laughing and enjoying their company. It wasn't just about the unusual proposal anymore. It was about connecting with these women, these people, in a way that he hadn't expected. As the conversation continued, Alicia finally spoke up, her voice thoughtful. "I know this is all very sudden, Alex, and I understand if you're feeling overwhelmed. But please know that we are not asking for anything from you that you cannot give willingly. Our family has always believed in the strength of unity, and we believe that you have something to offer us." Alex took a deep breath, considering her words. "I'm not sure I understand completely, but I do want to try. I want to get to know all of you better and see if this idea is something that could work." Alicia's eyes softened, and she reached across the table, placing her hand on his. "That's all we ask. Take your time. There's no rush, but know that you are always welcome here." As the meal ended and the stars began to twinkle outside, Alex felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. He was far from understanding the full extent of what had been proposed to him, but he felt a connection to Alicia and her family that was undeniable. They weren't just asking for his hand in marriage. They were offering him a place in their world, in their lives. And for the first time since his arrival on Cyrannus, Alex felt like he might actually belong. The following day, Alex woke to the soft hum of Cyrannus' twin suns rising over the horizon. The light filtered through the window, casting a golden glow across the room. For a brief moment, Alex felt a sense of peace, but the reality of the situation soon came rushing back. Alicia and her sisters had invited him to their home to offer him a place in their world, but now he was faced with something far more daunting: the test. Alicia had explained the tradition of her people. The human who was chosen to join their family wasn't just accepted without proving their worth. Alex had thought he was simply being asked to consider their proposal, but now he realized that joining them meant facing trials that would test his strength, intellect, and heart. As he sat down for breakfast, Alicia entered the room, her expression serious but kind. "Are you ready for the trials, Alex?" she asked, her voice steady. Alex nodded, still unsure of what to expect. "I'm ready, but I still don't fully understand what I'm being tested on." Alicia smiled softly. "It's different for each individual. For some, it's physical strength. For others, it's mental or emotional resilience. But I know you have the qualities we're looking for." Before Alex could respond, Scifi entered the room, followed closely by Lyra and Viora. Each sister had a unique look of determination, and Alex could tell that this was not just about tradition. It was about their personal investment in the process. Scifi stepped forward, her gaze sharp as always. "We believe that a true bond can only be formed when both parties show they are willing to work for it. We are a family, Alex, and in this family, everyone plays a role. You will need to prove that you can handle the responsibilities that come with being part of us." Lyra, with her usual lightheartedness, added, "Don't worry, Alex. These tests aren't meant to scare you. They're just to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. Viora, her calm presence filling the room, spoke softly. You must understand the importance of family. That is the first test. Not just your connection with us, but how you relate to others, how you build trust and respect. Alex took a deep breath. He had faced challenges before, but nothing like this. Still, he couldn't back down now. This wasn't just about proving himself to Elijah or her sisters. It was about understanding the culture they were offering him a place in. The first test, they explained, would be a physical one. It wasn't about brute strength, but rather endurance and agility. Alex was led to a large outdoor arena, surrounded by alien technology and strange, glowing plants. The arena was set up with obstacles that would test his ability to think on his feet and move swiftly. Zafira, the eldest sister, stood at the starting line, her arms crossed as she looked at him. You will navigate this course as quickly as possible. But speed isn't the only factor. You must remain focused and avoid making mistakes. You're representing yourself and the family. Alex nodded, trying to push his nerves aside. The course was unlike anything he had seen before. It was filled with platforms that shifted, pits that opened and closed, and moving barriers that tested both his balance and his quick thinking. He took a deep breath, stepping forward with determination. The sound of the starting gong echoed through the arena. Alex darted forward, his body moving instinctively. He leaped over a low barrier, dodged a swinging pole, and sprinted across a bridge that seemed to collapse under his feet just as he reached it. His heart raced as he continued, pushing through the fatigue that was starting to settle in. The course was designed to test both his physical abilities and his mental resolve. He had to stay alert and react in an instant. As he neared the final obstacle, a massive wall that seemed insurmountable, he hesitated for a split second, but only a second. With a burst of energy, he jumped, grabbing onto the edge of the wall and hoisting himself up. He reached the top, pulling himself over the edge and landing on the other side. The arena fell silent for a moment, and then the sound of clapping filled the air. Elijah, Zafira, Lyra, and Viora were standing at the edge of the arena, their expressions a mix of admiration and approval. Zafira gave a small, approving nod. You've passed the first test, Alex, Zafira said, her tone still firm but less critical than before. You've shown that you can think on your feet and that you have the endurance to keep going even when things get tough. Alex wiped the sweat from his brow, his chest heaving from the exertion. That was intense, he said, his voice hoarse. But I made it through. Lyra grinned. You did great. Now the second test is mental. We'll see how well you can adapt to new situations. The second test took place in a small, high-tech room filled with various alien devices and puzzles. It was meant to challenge Alex's problem-solving skills, to see how quickly he could adapt to technology he had never encountered before. Viora stepped forward, her voice calm and soothing. This test will measure how well you can handle unfamiliar situations. You will be given a series of tasks that require quick thinking and ingenuity. The room was filled with strange, floating objects and holographic displays. Alex was instructed to solve a series of puzzles, each one more complicated than the last. It wasn't just about logic, it was about creativity and seeing beyond the obvious. As the tests continued, Alex found himself becoming more and more immersed in the process. He felt his connection to Elijah and her sisters growing stronger with each challenge he faced. It was clear that they were not only testing him for their own benefit, they wanted him to understand what it meant to be part of their family, to contribute to something larger than himself. Finally, after hours of challenges, the last test was presented. It would be emotional. Alex was told to spend time with each of the sisters, discussing their lives, their experiences, and what family meant to them. It wasn't just about getting through the tests. It was about understanding the heart of their culture and connecting on a deeper level. As he spoke with Elijah, Zafira, Lyra, and Viora, Alex realized that he wasn't just being tested on his ability to survive their trials. He was being tested on his capacity for empathy, understanding, and commitment. And by the end of the day, Alex knew one thing for certain. He wasn't just learning about their culture. He was learning about himself. Alex had thought he had seen the most difficult of the trials, but as the sun began to set, casting a reddish hue over the landscape of Cyrano's, he realized that he had only scratched the surface. The tests had been tough, each one pushing him beyond what he thought were his limits, but what came next would be unlike anything he had ever faced before. Elijah had called him to a secluded area outside the family's home, a place surrounded by large rocky cliffs and dense, towering trees. The air was cooler here, and the sounds of distant waterfalls echoed through the valley. As he approached, he saw that her sisters were already waiting, their expressions serious. Today's test, they had told him, would be the most important one. It would not only challenge his physical abilities, but also his courage and decision-making. Zafira, always the one to take charge, stepped forward as Alex approached. Her usual sharp gaze softened slightly, though she still held a commanding presence. "This final trial is about survival and adaptability," she explained. "You will face an enemy, a creature native to this region. It is not something to be taken lightly. But remember, we are watching to see not just if you can defeat it, but how you approach the situation, how you react under pressure." Alex felt his heart race. He had faced dangerous creatures before, but the way Zafira spoke about this one made it clear that it was no ordinary opponent. Still, he was determined to prove himself. He nodded at her, signaling that he was ready. "We've prepared the environment for you," Lyra added with a wink, trying to lighten the mood. "It's not all doom and gloom. Just trust your instincts." Viora, standing off to the side, spoke quietly. "You have shown us much already, Alex. But this trial is different. It's not about defeating the creature. It's about understanding it." With those words in mind, Alex stepped forward into the clearing. As he walked deeper into the area, the air grew thick with tension. The sounds of nature around him seemed to fade into the background, replaced by the subtle rustling of something larger in the trees. He looked around, trying to spot the creature, but it remained hidden. Suddenly, there was a low growl, followed by the sound of something large moving quickly through the underbrush. Alex's instincts kicked in. He spun around just in time to see the creature lunging at him. It was a massive four-legged beast with dark, scaled skin that shimmered under the dim light. Its eyes were an intense yellow, and its mouth was filled with sharp, jagged teeth. The creature was nearly as tall as Alex, and its powerful legs allowed it to move with incredible speed. It let out a roar that sent a shiver down his spine. Alex had no time to think. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's teeth as it snapped at him. He landed hard on the ground, rolling to his feet as the beast circled back around, preparing for another attack. Alex's heart pounded in his chest, but he didn't panic. He focused, recalling everything he had learned in the previous tests, his ability to think quickly, adapt, and remain calm under pressure. The creature charged again, but this time Alex was ready. He sidestepped at the last moment, causing the beast to crash into a large rock. The force of the collision sent vibrations through the ground, but the creature quickly recovered, its eyes burning with rage. It wasn't just attacking, it was trying to intimidate him. Alex knew he couldn't win this fight through brute force alone. This wasn't about defeating the creature, it was about surviving and understanding its behavior. He studied its movements, watching how it reacted to each of his evasive maneuvers. The creature was fast, but it was also predictable. It relied on its strength and aggression, but it lacked the patience to wait for the right moment. He realized something important. The creature wasn't attacking out of pure malice. It was territorial, protecting its space from an intruder. Alex needed to show it that he wasn't a threat. With that thought in mind, he began to slow his movements. Instead of constantly running or dodging, he carefully positioned himself in the clearing, making sure to stay calm and steady. The creature circled around him, watching him with those piercing yellow eyes. Alex lowered his posture, making himself appear smaller, less of a threat. The creature hesitated, its growls softening as it observed him. Alex continued to move slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements that might provoke it. After what seemed like an eternity, the creature finally stopped its circling. It was still watching him, but now there was a hint of curiosity rather than aggression. Alex slowly backed away, keeping his eyes on the creature. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to communicate that he wasn't there to harm it. Finally, the creature let out a soft growl and turned, disappearing back into the trees. Alex stood there, his breath coming in heavy gasps, but he didn't move for a moment. He had survived. He had managed to calm the creature, to show it that he wasn't a threat. It wasn't the most conventional way to handle a dangerous situation, but it was effective. He had won, not through strength, but through understanding. When the sisters finally approached, their expressions were a mixture of surprise and respect. Scifi nodded approvingly. You handled the creature well. Not many would have been able to avoid a fight and still survive. Lyra clapped her hands together. You did it, Alex. I thought you were done for a second there, but you showed that you don't need to fight to win. Viora stepped forward, her calm eyes meeting his. You understood its nature, its fear. You didn't try to overpower it. That was the key. Alex felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had passed the test, but more importantly, he had learned something valuable about himself. He had relied on his wits, his ability to understand the situation, and his willingness to think differently. He wasn't just proving himself to Elysia's family. He was growing as a person. Elysia smiled warmly as she joined the group. You've done well, Alex. This trial was not just about defeating the creature. It was about showing us who you are, and you've done that. Alex met her gaze, his heart filled with a mix of pride and uncertainty. He had passed the ultimate challenge, but now, more than ever, he realized the true weight of the decision that lay ahead. The days following Alex's final test were filled with quiet contemplation. He had passed each of the trials, not through sheer strength or force, but by using his mind, his patience, and his understanding of the challenges laid before him. Elysia and her sisters had watched him closely, studying his reactions and decisions with a level of care that made Alex feel both respected and deeply uncertain. It wasn't just the tests themselves that had shaken him. It was the bond that had begun to form between him and Elysia's family. The more time he spent with them, the more he realized how different their culture was from his own. The idea of marrying multiple people in a single family was something Alex could hardly grasp, but the connection he felt to each of the sisters, Elysia, Scifi, Lyra, and Viora, was undeniable. On the fourth evening after the final trial, Elysia asked Alex to join her for a walk. The sky was darkening, and the twin moons of Cyrannus cast a soft light over the landscape. The air was cool and crisp, and Alex could feel the tension in his chest as he followed Elysia through the winding paths that led into the valley. So, how are you feeling? Elysia asked, her voice calm but laced with concern. Alex glanced at her, his heart heavy. I've been thinking about everything. I passed the tests, and I can see how much you and your family value unity and connection, but I'm not sure I fully understand it. Elysia nodded, her expression thoughtful. I know it's a lot to take in. Our culture is very different from yours. But there's no rush, Alex. The decision is yours. You don't have to agree to anything unless it feels right for you. They walked in silence for a few moments, the soft sounds of the wind and the distant hum of Cyrannus city filling the space between them. The weight of the choice ahead of him settled deeper in Alex's mind. He had grown close to Elysia and her sisters, and he felt more connected to them than he had ever expected. But the thought of making a commitment to all of them, in a way that was so different from what he had known, left him feeling uncertain. I want to understand more, Alex said finally, breaking the silence. But I'm not sure I'm ready for this. I've always believed in one person, one commitment. This is unlike anything I've ever thought about." Elysia stopped walking and turned to face him, her eyes soft and full of understanding. "I know, it's not easy, and I would never want you to do something you're not comfortable with. But let me ask you something. Do you think you could find a connection with us? Do you think you could see yourself as part of this family?" Alex took a deep breath, trying to find the words. "I feel something, but I don't know if it's enough to make this kind of decision. I'm a human. You're not. Our worlds are so different. I'm not sure how we would make this work." Elysia smiled, a gentle smile that eased some of the tension in his chest. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. What matters is that we're willing to make it work, if you are. We're a family, Alex, and we believe in strength through unity. Not just romantic connections, but bonds that are deeper than love. Family is about support, understanding, and respect. You don't have to understand everything right away, but if you're willing to try, we'll be here." Alex looked into her eyes, and for the first time since this all began, he saw the truth in her words. Elysia wasn't asking for him to make an impossible decision. She was asking for him to take a chance on something new, something unfamiliar, but something that could become a source of strength and love if he was willing to try. "I'm scared," Alex admitted, his voice quieter now. "I don't know what the future holds, and I don't want to make a mistake." Elysia stepped closer, her hand resting gently on his arm. "It's okay to be scared. We all are, in some way. But sometimes the only way to move forward is to take that first step, even when you don't have all the answers." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of her words. It wasn't just about the commitment he was being asked to make. It was about the opportunity to be part of something larger than himself, something that went beyond his understanding of what love and family were supposed to be. He had spent so much of his life relying on logic, on reason, on what made sense. But this wasn't about sense. It was about connection, about trust, about willingness. He looked at Elysia, his heart still uncertain, but a little lighter. "I don't know if I can fully understand this now, but I'm willing to try. I want to know more. I want to see if this could work. With you, with your family." Elysia's face brightened, and she stepped forward to embrace him. "That's all we ask, Alex. We want you to be part of this family, and we'll give you the time you need. No one will rush you, but know that we will be here every step of the way." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Alex realized that he had made his first true decision. It wasn't the final one, but it was a start. He was no longer thinking about what he couldn't do or what felt impossible. Instead, he was focusing on what he could give, what he was willing to try, and what he might gain from the experience. The moonlight shone brightly now, casting its light over Serranos and the world beyond. Alex felt a strange sense of peace settle over him. He wasn't alone in this. He didn't have all the answers yet, but for the first time, he understood that he didn't need them. All he needed was the courage to take that next step, no matter how uncertain it felt. And so, with that decision made, Alex knew his journey with Elysia and her family was only just beginning. The days after Alex made his decision passed quickly, but they were filled with new discoveries. He was no longer just a visitor in the Serranos' home. He had become a part of their daily life. The sisters, Elysia, Zephyra, Lyra, and Viora, welcomed him with open arms, guiding him through their customs and helping him understand what it meant to truly be part of their family. At first, the experience felt overwhelming. The bond they shared as a family was so different from anything Alex had ever known. Their relationships were built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. It wasn't just about love in the traditional sense. It was about supporting each other, lifting each other up, and forming a unity that transcended individual desires. Alex had learned a lot in the time he spent with them, but he still had so many questions. Each sister had a unique way of looking at the world, and their ideas of love, family, and commitment were so different from his own. But instead of feeling confused or out of place, Alex began to appreciate their perspectives. The more he learned, the more he understood that love didn't have to look the same for everyone. It wasn't about fitting into a single mold. It was about creating something new together. One evening after dinner, Alex sat down with Elijah and her sisters in the family's gathering room. The room was warm and inviting, with soft, glowing lights that gave it a peaceful atmosphere. The furniture was arranged in a circle, and the walls were decorated with intricate artwork depicting scenes of unity and strength. It felt like a space where they could all come together, share their thoughts, and connect. Elijah, noticing Alex's thoughtful expression, smiled softly. "You seem deep in thought tonight. Is there something on your mind?" Alex shifted in his seat, looking around at the sisters. They were all waiting for him to speak, their expressions kind but expectant. "I've been thinking about everything. About what you've all shared with me. Your family. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. There's so much love and trust between all of you, but it's not the same kind of love I'm used to." Lyra, always the most playful of the sisters, laughed softly. "It's true. It's not the same as what you might find on Earth, but that's what makes it so special. It's about the connection between us, about understanding each other and respecting each other's needs. We don't have to follow the same rules as everyone else to have something meaningful." Sapphira, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Love, in our culture, isn't just about romantic feelings. It's about unity. We form bonds to help each other, to be stronger together. It's different, but it works for us." Alex nodded, taking in her words. He had started to see it, but he still wasn't sure if he could fully embrace it. "I think I'm starting to understand, but how do I know if I'm ready for all of this? I mean, it's a big step, not just for me, but for all of you too." Viora, the quietest of the sisters, smiled gently. "There's no rush, Alex. We're not asking you to have all the answers. All we want is for you to be open to the idea. We're not forcing anything on you. It's about what feels right for you." Elijah's eyes softened as she leaned in slightly. "We've already begun to form a connection, and that's something we'll continue to build together. The most important thing is that we trust each other. There's no expectation of perfection. We simply want to grow, as individuals and as a family." Alex sat back in his chair, his mind racing with the new perspective he was being offered. He had always thought of love as something that had to fit a certain mold, that it had to be one-on-one, exclusive, and traditional. But the more he spent time with Elijah and her sisters, the more he realized that love could be so much more. It could be expansive, it could be shared, and it could be built through trust and respect. "But I still don't know," Alex said, feeling a sense of vulnerability creeping in. "What if I can't handle it? What if I can't be the person you all need me to be?" Sapphira's gaze softened as she stood up and moved to sit next to him. "You don't have to be perfect, Alex. None of us are. What matters is that we support each other. We'll help you, just as you'll help us. It's a partnership, not a burden." Lyra chimed in, her voice light and teasing. "And besides, we already like you. If you can survive all the tests, I think you can handle whatever comes next." Everyone laughed, the tension in the room easing. Alex found himself smiling, a small chuckle escaping his lips. He was starting to feel more at home in this family than he had expected. It wasn't about meeting certain standards or fitting into some preconceived idea of what a relationship should look like. It was about growth, about learning to understand and care for each other, even when things didn't go as planned. As the conversation continued, Alex began to realize just how much he had changed in the time he had spent with Elijah and her family. He had come here with so many questions, so much doubt, but now he saw a future that was filled with possibilities. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be what he had expected, but it felt right. They weren't asking him to fit into their world. They were inviting him to help create a new one together. "I think," Alex said after a long pause, I'm ready to give this a real chance. I may not understand everything, but I'm willing to try. I want to learn, and I want to be part of this family, if you'll have me." Elijah's smile was radiant, and the sisters all looked at him with pride. "We already have you, Alex," Elijah said softly, "and we will continue to build something strong together." The evening continued with laughter and warmth, a sense of calm settling over Alex. He wasn't sure where this path would take him, but for the first time since he arrived on Cyrano's, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. The morning after Alex made his decision, he awoke with a sense of purpose that he hadn't felt before. The sun was already high in the sky, casting its golden light over the landscape of Cyrano's. He had slept peacefully for the first time since his arrival, as if the weight of uncertainty had lifted from his shoulders. He was no longer thinking about the unknowns, the doubts, or the fears that had plagued him when he first arrived. Instead, his mind was clear, filled with the quiet understanding that he was beginning a new chapter in his life. Elijah and her sisters had made it clear that there was no pressure for him to rush into anything. He could take his time, learn, and grow with them at his own pace. But now, standing in the warmth of the morning light, Alex felt ready to embrace what lay ahead. His connection with Elijah and her family was real, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like he belonged somewhere. As he stepped outside to join the family for breakfast, he was greeted by the sight of Elijah, Zephyra, Lyra, and Viora sitting around a large table, laughing and talking together. It was a simple moment, but it felt like a moment of peace, a feeling he had not expected to find on Cyrano's. The sisters had become his family, and despite the challenges and the differences in their cultures, they had shown him a new way of thinking about relationships and love. Elijah looked up as Alex approached and smiled warmly. "Good morning," she said softly, motioning for him to join them. "Morning," Alex replied, returning her smile as he took a seat beside her. "I was thinking about what you said last night, and I think I'm ready. I want to continue this journey with all of you. I'm ready to see where this takes us." The sisters exchanged pleased glances, their eyes full of understanding and affection. Zephyra, who had always been the most composed, nodded. "We're glad to hear that, Alex. We've always known that you had the potential to understand what we're building here, but we also know that this isn't just about us. This is about you too." Lyra grinned, her playful energy never fading. "It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to all the adventures we'll have together." Viora, ever the calming presence, added, "There's no pressure, Alex. This is about learning from each other, growing together. You've already shown us who you are, and we are happy to have you with us." As they sat down to eat, the conversation shifted toward future plans. Elijah spoke about the different customs of Cyrano's and how they had changed over the centuries. "Family, in our culture, isn't just about blood relations. It's about the connections we form, the trust we build, and the responsibilities we take on together. You're already a part of that now, Alex. We don't expect perfection, just effort and understanding." Alex listened carefully, absorbing every word. He had come to realize that family didn't have to look the same for everyone. It wasn't about following a set of rules. It was about the bond that was formed through shared experiences, respect, and mutual care. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. The love he was beginning to feel for Elijah and her sisters wasn't just romantic. It was something deeper, something that transcended what he had once thought of as normal. The day passed in a blur of activity. Alex spent time with each of the sisters, learning about their unique skills and talents. Zephyra showed him how to navigate the more technical aspects of Cyrano's advanced technology, teaching him about the systems that powered the city. Lyra, ever the free spirit, took him on a walk through the natural beauty of the planet, showing him the unique flora and fauna that made Cyrano's so special. Viora shared stories about their history, about the values that had shaped their society, and the lessons they had learned over generations. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley, Alex found himself sitting on a hilltop with Elijah. The quiet of the evening surrounded them, and for a moment, it felt as though the whole world had paused just for them. Elijah took his hand, her touch warm and comforting. "I'm glad you're here, Alex," she said, her voice soft. "I know this isn't what you expected when you first arrived, but I hope you can see how much we value you. You've become a part of something bigger than yourself, and we're all ready to walk this path with you." Alex looked into her eyes, seeing the depth of sincerity in her expression. "I never thought I'd find a family like this. I've been alone for so long, always moving from one place to the next, never really connecting with anyone. But with you all, I feel like I've finally found where I belong." Elysia smiled, her eyes shining with warmth. "You have, Alex. You belong with us. And together, we will create a future that none of us could have imagined alone." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky. For the first time, Alex felt at peace with his decision. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew that it would be full of growth, learning, and new experiences. And he knew that, whatever happened, he would never have to face it alone. The family, with all its differences, had come together to offer him something rare and beautiful, a chance to be part of something larger than himself. And in that moment, as he sat next to Elijah, surrounded by the sisters who had welcomed him with open arms, Alex realized that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter that was filled with endless possibilities. As the night grew darker and the stars shone brighter, Alex couldn't help but smile. He had taken a leap of faith, and it had led him to a place he never expected. But for the first time, he knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be. And with that, Alex embraced the future with open arms, ready to face whatever challenges and joys it would bring, knowing that he was no longer alone. He had found his family, and together, they would create something lasting, something strong.